All right, big key on page 25. Structure your business so you can accept any buyer who loves your house as long as they have money or credit, but not necessarily both. In fact, if they have money and credit, you probably don't want them. They're a pain in the neck. Unless you happen to have some rehabbers that you've renovated and you want to cash out of. If they have money and poor credit, they're your favorite target for work for equity. And you will have no trouble finding those folks. If they have good credit and no money, you can use them as candidates. You can go get them bond money or USDA money, and they don't need any down payment. And what they do need, you can pay if you have a retail property ready to sell them. If they have poor credit and no money, they need to get off of your list and put over on a C- list that are really kind of worthless to you right now, but you don't want to turn them out. You don't want to whack them. You don't want to eliminate them from your list, but you don't want them. You don't call people with no money and no credit part of your buyers list. You build another list with those folks, and then you hit them once or twice a year. A few months ago, you inquired about a house that I have. At that time, you told me you had no money or no credit. Has anything changed? And once you hear my guide this afternoon, you might be saying, would you like someone to clean up your credit for you? Contact me immediately. Incidentally, guys, I'll bet you I see a business coming here. I'll bet you I see you guys actually making some extra money helping people get their credit cleaned up. That's just my guess. You see if you don't agree with me this afternoon. Now, that's not what Marion came here to talk about, but frankly, it just occurred to me. If you're going to be dealing with all these people who need their credit cleaned up, you might as well figure out a way to make an extra income on that, wouldn't you think? Yep. All right, so drive suspects to my house and let the prospects pre-screen themselves. That's pretty much the basis of business. That's what we do at Global Publishing. We bring in suspects who have interest, and then we pre-screen them out to prospects who are willing to buy and vote with their wallet. You're going to bring in suspects who say they want to buy a house, and you're going to screen them down to prospects who have something to work with and find out if they're telling you the truth. Your suspects are going to be this massive herd at the top. Your prospects are going to be this thinner herd down at the bottom. Is that the exact same situation you're going to be in if you have a kiosk at the mall, a retail store, a restaurant, if you're a realtor, if you're an attorney, or any other business you have? You got to get the herd at the top and screen them down to the people who want and can work with you and work with the minority and eliminate the majority. And unfortunately for you, the internet will do all that for you if you let it, on autopilot. You will never be physically showing a house. I catch you physically showing a house, I will spank you. There's no need to do that anymore. These houses are going to have lock boxes on them after you own them and maybe even before you own them with permission. They'll show themselves, especially if they're ugly. In fact, I've got it in here what you're even going to put on the kitchen countertop. And that would be on the next page. This is what you're going to put on the countertop. This is your salesperson inside the house. You're going to put a flyer about the house. You're going to put which you're going to have to create. I'm going to trust that you can create a flyer with a picture of the house, tells them about the house on it. You can pull that up. I don't have a sample of it in here. You're going to put the Q&A sheet on the countertop, which I do have in here for you on page 32 and 33. You're going to take this Q&A sheet and you're going to modify it to your needs. And you're going to be able to do that because it happens to be loaded on a website where you can download it and fix it without having to retype it. And that website happens to be ronlegrand.com/WFE downloads. Now, who can tell me what WFE stands for? Congratulations. Okay. ronlegrand.com/WFE downloads. If you're in this room, and if you're watching on video or listening, you go to that website and you will download everything in this manual that should be downloadable so that you can alter it and or forward it to someone else. So this is a document you can fix. Now, you got to read this when you get a chance. No, that would not be now. Now you should pay attention to me. Read this when you get a chance, and you will not want to leave it as is most likely because you're going to want to probably fix a few things in it. So I didn't write it to be copied and used. It could be copied and used as. You might want to take my copyright off the bottom if you're going to copy it and use it as is.
That'd be a good plan.
But guys, you do have the right to copy anything in this book and use in your business. You do not have the right to copy this book and sell this book. Okay? We clear on that? All right. Application is also in here. Now you use whatever one you want. I don't really care, but make it a short one. Like on page 31, a shorty. Okay? Hey, Ryan, would you get this thing set up for me? Make this a shorty. Because guys, you're not processing them for a loan right now. You don't need that big old long 1003 Fannie Mae form that takes an hour and a half to fill out. And nor are you ever going to sit there while that thing's filled out. You just need some basic facts to see who you're dealing with here, and that's all right there. Notice their debts aren't even on here because they'll come up on a credit report anyway. And if they're not on a credit report, I don't care about them. I'm not asking them to sit in there, what's your car payment, what's your account number, who do you, baloney on that. They fill this out in 2 minutes. Because this is all I need to determine whether I want to know more. Got it? Got it? Besides, I'm not taking them down and get a loan today. We don't need a 1003 Fannie Mae form today. That might be months away. That's all I need. Okay? Notice it does their income, though, so I can determine their debt ratio. And it gives me permission to pull their credit. No, I'm not pulling their credit, but it gives me permission to pull their credit. I don't know how to pull credit. Don't want to know how to pull credit. Don't care if I ever learn how to pull credit. Never have known how to pull credit. We're going to get other people to do that for us for free. Okay. What to do next form. This is a good one. What to do next. On page 30. This is my creation. This is a beauty here. In fact, it took me a long time to. Now, look at the top. It says this form will be faxed or emailed to you from buyers who have been in your house. When you get it, all the info you need is on it to determine if you have a suspect or a prospect. Should you take that off before you reproduce the form? Okay, that's there for your benefit, right? Not to put on the countertop. Might want to put a circle around that and put remove just so you don't forget it. Okay, this is on your downloadable forms deal. And notice at the bottom you have to fill in your numbers anyway for phone numbers and so forth. So can't copy it and use it as is. Yes, I like the home, or no, I'm not interested in this home, but put me on your buyer's list. Okay, if I put them on the buyer's list, look, I'm asking for some of the same information all over again in case I didn't get them by email. So they same thing, good credit, how much money you got, and anything else I want to know about you. And then I tell them, send me this form by one of these ways at the bottom. You can fax it, drop it off, email it, call, whatever. We accept applications on a first come, first serve. So this form is on the countertop. So I'm going to drive them to the countertop, probably by email. I'm going to let them go in with a lockbox sitting on the front door, if it's ready. If I can let them do that. And when they do get in, then this will be on the countertop. Now the truth is that many of your work for equity deals are going to be sold before you ever even have a chance or possession of the house to put this crap on the countertop. Because they don't really need this crap most of the time. They can look in the windows and see if they want the house. And if they really want it bad enough, you're going to be able to get them in, aren't you? All right. This is before you own it now. You better tread lightly on that one, guys. You can't go taking bank-owned properties and ripping the lock boxes off the doors and ripping the signs out of the front yard and changing the locks and do all of that crap without expecting some repercussions from the seller and the bank. Could even kill your deal, you know. But doesn't mean you can't send people by and let them look in the windows. And don't worry about that sign on the front yard. They're not offering them a lease purchase and a work for equity deal. And you have bought it most likely cheaper than that asking price in the MLS for that sign on the front yard. So if they call the sign, they're going to get a higher price. And so if they call the sign and say, hey, the sign says I can buy this house for $68,000. I call the realtor. You want me to pay $85,000? Well, that's true. You can buy it for $68,000 for cash. You got cash? No problem. I'll sell it to you for $68,000 for cash. Well, no. Well, then shut up. All right. I want flyers on the house. I want what to do next for them. And then a letter from you. A letter from you. In other words, read me first. That's this masterpiece on this page for you that I wrote. You can read it during lunch. All right? This sits there, and it tells them how you can help them. It's so benefit-laden on what you can do for them. And then at the end, it tells them what to do. It says read the Q&A and then fill out the application and then your next step enclosed and get it to us. And look in the middle. Look at the top of page 26 or 28. It even pre-screens them for you. If you have nothing to put down, can you really get financed? The answer is no. Frankly, if you have no money and very bad credit, there's nothing we can do for you. However, if your credit is reasonably good and you have provable income, we have several programs available for you now. These programs are brand new and not widely known and are designed to help good folks buy a home with little or no money. But they have to have credit. Okay? So there you go. Notice on page 29 it calls for your phone number to be in the blank. So this is your sales force on the countertop if you ever get to the point to where you even need to put it on the countertop. If the house isn't sold long before you even get to that point. Okay? If you want to put a home inspection in there, fine. I'm suggesting you probably won't even have time to get one before the house is gone. Termite after repaired appraisal if you do get one. And if you're going to get private money, you should have an after repaired appraisal. And if the number is where you like it and you're selling it cheaper, why the heck not throw the first couple of pages in there and let them look at it that are brand new appraisal and they're getting a good deal if you want to. Up to you. And then testimonials. If you got testimonials about other people that you have helped do this same thing, would it not be a good idea to have a whole packet of them laying in there on the countertop? Yes or yes? All right. Okay. Any questions?
No.
None? No. Yes.
We're talking about having all this on the counter before we purchase the house.
No. Well, before you purchase if you have permission, not until after you purchase if you don't have permission. You will not get permission from a bank to do this. So that's why I said you probably will never even get all that stuff done. But hey, it makes a nice seminar. If you own it, I mean, how hard is that stuff to do? If you own it and you want to take your time and you're not in a rush and you want to play the market, go ahead and put the pieces in there and let the people come to you with big gobs of money. Because I'm telling you right now, the more money they have, the more you're going to like this business and the less problem you're going to have out of them and the more chance they're going to have of getting qualified for a loan later because they're highly committed. Okay? Any other questions? None? Yes, sir. No, not on a work for equity. It is rare that I order a home inspection. The question was, do I recommend a home inspection before the closing? It is rare that I order them. When I'm wholesaling, absolutely not. When I'm rehabbing, I almost never do it because I'm not worried about what's wrong with the house. There's only so much can be wrong with the house. If there's a problem or you think there's a problem, it might not be a bad idea. But the truth is, if you're not careful, you can get so hung up in the thinker brain mentality that you analyze yourself right out of business. If I don't intend to do the repairs, I honestly don't know why I'd want a home inspection. If I intend to do the repairs, I might consider it, especially if I suspect there's an issue. By the way, there's new lead-based paint law passing in April and you need to be aware of that. Any house that's pre-1978 that's going to have any renovation done needs to have it done and comply with a new law. So make note to get yourself up on that as well. Of course, if I'm not doing any renovation, that is not my concern, is it? All right, key number 1, buy right. If you don't buy right, nothing's going to go right from that point on. If you pay too much and do everything right, you could still lose money. If you buy it really cheap and you do everything wrong, you will probably still make money. But if you don't buy right, you're starting with 2.5 strikes before you take the plate. And buying right is a relative term. It's a little different in Canada than it is the U.S., but I don't care where you're at in the U.S. You can buy properties really, really cheap out there right now, regardless of whether you're in a high-end market or a low-end market. And if you pay too much for them, that's something you elected to do, not something your market dictated that you do. You can't go everywhere and get these $100,000 houses that I'm looking at, but you can go everywhere all the time, anytime in this country, and get all the houses you want for 50% of the ARV or less, if you're paying cash. And if you don't believe that, you better get to believe it, because if you don't do that, you're not going to like paying cash for houses. You're not going to like the end results. If you're taking over debt, you got to get some free equity. If you don't get free equity, there's really no reason to take over debt. On the other hand, I can give you an exception to that rule. Are there always exceptions? Yeah? I'm looking at David right here. David's a member. Would you stand up, Dave? Would you look at the camera? The camera look at David? Isn't he pretty? Okay. David's an old-time CEO, long corporate history in the corporate world, and financial world, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He's old, wore out, and retired and tired. And he's in my Home Buyer Society group, and we're out here buying and selling houses. So Dave brought one to the meeting here just past Wednesday night. Beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood, $135,000 loan balance, right? And decent low payment, and needs no repairs. In a nice neighborhood. And it's worth just about what is owed on it. Now, is there any of those out there where you live? Yep. All right. Now, because it was in beautiful condition, because it was in a nice neighborhood, because it had a low payment, and because the seller's willing to sell it to him for what they owe on it, I said, David, go get a contract on that house. And you're getting a contract when? Monday. Okay. Well, then why would anybody buy a house for what it's worth? Because, Ron, the book says you're supposed to get free equity. Well, but the book's not always right. We also have to apply common sense. David's going to go out, he's going to take over that debt on that house, and he's going to find a tenant buyer to put in that house. He's going to get from $5,000 to $10,000 down from that tenant buyer, put them in the house, and forget about it. And he just made $5,000 to $10,000 with no hassle, no grief, no work for equity, no contractors, no raising any money, no doing anything except get in, get out, and get a check. So when you're trained, you know, when you can see the exit, it makes it a lot easier to go in the entrance. You'll have no risk and no reason not to do it. And besides, he's going to have people just begging him to get in that beautiful house that they can walk into with a little bit of money, and credit is not even an issue. Credit is irrelevant for him to put them in that house. All right, key number 2, cash purchases. No payment private loans. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to have no payments or it's a bad deal, but I'm telling you that if you have payments, you're going to like the deal a lot less than if you don't have payments. Number 3, don't use your cash. If you use your cash, look, I'm okay with you writing a check as long as you get that check back quickly with a larger check. Anytime you can write a check and get a bigger check back quickly, and quickly means within 30 days or so, you write the check. What else are you going to do with cash? You're supposed to take cash and use it to make more cash. If you can take cash and use it to make more cash and not bury it in real estate, then you're doing the right thing with that cash. So if you write a check to buy a house, you either cash out of that house quickly and or you get a private loan to replace that check so that you have that cash available and you don't have it buried in that house. No major rehabs. Remember, the smaller amount of repairs in this work for equity, the better off we are. stay away from the major rehabs because you're probably not going to find people to put in them. And for crying out loud, don't do the major rehabs. We've had several cases where people take on $100,000 rehabs on houses, and it's never going to turn out well. And if you want to go to some rehabbing seminars, just get into those big rehabbing jobs, and you will quickly discover that it really isn't going to cost what I thought it was going to cost. It's going to cost a lot more. And select your tenant buyer carefully, which we're getting into right now. If you want to get cashed out, then you have to put somebody in the house that has some kind of a chance to get cashed out. If you don't care, then it's less important. But if you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Yep, and I don't mind that being on camera. Canadians know what that means. Okay, I can't take somebody who has atrocious credit, who has a history of not paying anything in their life, and put them in this house and expect them to do what they promised to do and get the repairs done and pay me the rent on time and expect me to take them out on the back end. The truth is, if their credit is so bad, then so are their habits. It's more than just credit. If everything they've ever done is a whole track record of not paying anything, then what makes you think they're going to pay you? But here, on page 35, qualifying them. It's not difficult. It's pretty simple to qualify these people. One thing that I am concerned about is their income. If I'm about to put somebody in a $150,000 house and I know their monthly payment is going to be, I don't know, $1,000 after we get them refinanced based on current or projected interest rates, including taxes and insurance, then I know that if they're going to have a $1,000 a month house payment, it would be kind of foolish for me to put somebody in a house that only makes $2,000 a month, don't you think? Hello? Because if they only make $2,000 a month gross, the first thing that's got to come out is income taxes, and then they got to live, and they got to pay their car payment and their utility bills and all those other things like food to sustain life. And you're not going to do that on $1,000 a month after taxes are taken out of it. There's just no way they can succeed. So there's no reason to put them in the house. The income will probably cost you more buyers than the money. If they don't have the income and you can never get them qualified because they don't have the income, then, why? Who are you kidding? They can't go in a house. They just simply can't afford it. Period. And remember, if you do expect to take them out on the back end, they got to prove that income. Can't be some pie in the sky. I make money. I make $1,000 a week down at the flea market. Well, is it showing your tax returns? Well, no, not exactly. Well, we can't use that income because the lender won't use it. The lender's going to use 43% debt ratio. And that means that when they get ready to qualify for that loan, their house payment and all of their fixed monthly expenses showing on their credit card combined cannot exceed 43% of the family's gross income. There's a reason they established that number, because they know beyond that is dangerous. Down payment. I know that we can get anybody an FHA loan with 3.5% down payment. We can get them other loans with no down payment. But I'm going to assume that when it comes time to get them qualified on the back end, that there is going to have to be some kind of a down payment present. It's usually not that big of a problem because I'm going to get some of it now. If they give me a $2,000 deposit, it is definitely applied directly to their down payment. And I'm going to give them a chance to pay more on that as we go along every month if they want to when I get to it here. So I think we can crack the down payment code in the time that we're going to have between now and the time we expect them to go get qualified for a loan. And if not, we'll make arrangements along the way for them to perhaps pay in more. The criminal record. I prefer not to have child molesters and drug dealers in my house. And you can easily have this stuff checked out. There's all kinds of sources that'll do that for you. FindTheSeller.com is one of them. Our friend Cameron Dunlap. He will give you a whole report on these people if you want him, if you ask him to, for a small amount of money, of which comes out of their deposit. If you choose to collect a front-end deposit to check them out, or you just eat it. It's not that big a deal. It's $20-25 to get that great big old dossier on them. Or you can probably have their criminal record checked right online, depending on where you live. Maybe not in Canada, but in the United States, many places you can go right on your county's website or other websites, and you'll have to ask around. Where can I go find out if somebody's got a criminal record? Call your police department. Call your sheriff's department. Where can I find out if somebody's got a criminal record? They'll tell you like that. And I can assure you it's going to be a website. And size of the family and pets. Now, if I'm lease optioning it to them, are their pets kind of my problem? Because they're in my house. And I'm telling you, I am violently opposed to putting dangerous dogs in my house if I know about it. They are dangerous dogs. I don't want to own a home where somebody's had dogs that killed children, if I can help it. Besides, I'm really not all that worried about them tearing up the house because it's tore up when they got it. But I just don't like dangerous dogs. I went out and looked at a house not too long ago. I had it under contract. Got it accepted out of the MLS system. It was on the south side of town, lower end neighborhood, and I was out there anyway. And I decided to go take a look at this house and see why I bought it so cheap. So I did. I get out of the car and I walked up to the house, and over here on my left is 3 loud, noisy, ugly Doberman Pinschers, or Rottweiler, or something, I don't know. One of them dangerous dogs, whatever they were loud. And they were all behind a 4-foot fence with no chains. And all I could think about the whole time was, oh my God, what if they figure out they can jump that fence with very little effort? And then how am I going to fight off 3 dogs at one time? A guy that had quadruple bypass. They're going to eat me for lunch. And then, of course, by the time I got to the front door, this is a true story, by the time I got to the front door, I was working on the lockbox code, and then it hit me. What do I care what the inside looks like? I am not buying this house. If those dogs scare me this much, they're going to scare everybody that comes up there that much. And boy, I wouldn't want to be the owner of that house with that tenant in it that has those 3 nasty dogs. Because sooner or later, he's going to trial. Because those dogs are going to get out and they're going to hurt somebody. I mean, if I can tell by the look on their face, if they wanted to they'd come over that fence, they were coming at me. I didn't do anything to them. So I don't want those kind of animals in my place. So in my agreement back here, there's a provision for that, and that's just something that I'm going to ask them, do you have any large dogs? Well, yeah. Well, what kind? Well, just 3 kind and gentle Doberman Pinschers. Okay, disqualified. Done. Repair capability. Now, that's important on this work for equity stuff. Because one of the questions you're going to ask them at the meeting, when we get to the meeting, is, do you have the capabilities to get this work done? Oh, yeah, I can do that, not a problem. Well, explain to me how. Where's the money going to come from to buy the materials? And then who's going to do the work? Well, my brother-in-law happens to be a licensed contractor, and frankly, that's what he does for a living, and he's agreed to help me fix this house. Well, you know what? I might be able to live with that. What I can't live with is, well, I really don't know right now, but I'll figure it out. This don't sound too convincing. In fact, I'll tell them that you're not real convincing here. And frankly, I don't want to put you in a position to where you can't get this work done, because if you can't get this work done, nothing is going to work out right on the other end. 1, the bank won't lend you the money till the house gets fixed. And 2, I'm not going to be very happy because you're not getting the work done that you agreed to do right now, and I'm going to wind up having to put you out of the house, and I don't see it working out well. What do you think? Usually they talk themselves right out of it. But they have to have the ability to do the work. And you're going to have to use your own best instincts there as to whether you think they do or they don't. I'll tell you what to do, gentlemen. You listening, gentlemen? Here's what you do. You let a woman interview them, and if she's convinced they can do the work, they can do the work. If she says no, don't take them. The woman's intuition is a powerful force that us men do not understand. Okay, next. The meeting. All right. So let's start from scratch here. We got us a house. We got control of it or we own it. We are letting the world know on our iFlip or our other website that we have this house, and we're letting our buyers list know. Go out and look at it. Here's the deal on it. And if we don't have a buyer's list, we're creating a buyer's list and let them coming to us while we're telling them about this house. And we're capturing that information and we're piling it up and build a database like Joe will tell you this afternoon. Now they go out to the house and they take a look. If they can get inside, do you see all this beautiful paperwork on the countertop? If they can't, they'll look inside. Now they've contacted you back, either by phone or by fax or by email. Because if you've got a website set up for them to go see the house, the same website is set up to take their application if they want to go back to it and fill out the application. Or they can call you on the telephone, or they can call your salesperson on the telephone. And you can take that quick application, which is 3 minutes on the telephone. Okay? Now, you have sent this information over to a mortgage broker or a mortgage banker that is going to be the one you suspect will process their loan, if not now, sometime in the future. Or you have had them pull their own credit report and send it to you, which anybody can do now for free on freecreditreport.com and a host of other sites. Now, I don't trust them pulling their own credit report and sending it to me, but it's certainly good enough for me to pre-screen whether I want them right now. I might do a little bit more homework later, but it's good enough for me to take a look at right now, especially when I look at the score, because the score will kind of tell me the story, and if there's any bad stuff on there that they kind of removed with Photoshop type stuff, then the score will reflect whether it's true or false. And I'm not going to probably put them in the house till I have somebody else check their credit report. But remember, I'm just pre-screening them right now. I'm not making any major decisions. I just want to see who I'm dealing with. So if I send their Shorty app back here, which is all you need, over to my mortgage broker, and I say, hey, check them out for me, will you? Incidentally, does your mortgage broker would he much prefer to have this Shorty app and do a little bit of checking them out before he has time taking this big long application only to find out he'll never be able to get them a loan? See, they want to pre-screen them too. They'll pull a credit report for you. It won't cost you a dime. And then you get right back on the telephone and you simply say, listen, what have I got here? Good, bad, ugly. Now, is he supposed to discuss their credit with you? No, but he doesn't have to. He can discuss their credit condition with you. He can simply say, look, I can probably get these people a loan. He's going to tell you their credit score, whether he's supposed to or not. I can probably get these people a loan if we work with them a little bit or if we get their credit improved. Right now they're at a 610, and if you go to work and get their credit approved, I think they got stable enough income. We can probably get them in a loan, and it looks like their debt ratio is not bad. And I think we can probably work on your $125,000 house you want to put them in. Okay, well then I got something to work with. Or he'll say, geez, Ron, where'd you get these people at? I could get them a loan right now if they want. Then you'll say, oh, all right. I don't know how I got them, but I'll take them. All right, Or I might say, okay, well, they don't qualify. Their credit's too good. Depends on the way I run my business, isn't it? If I don't want really to sell the house, I might not put them in it. If I do want to sell it, then I might put them in it. Or maybe they don't have enough down payment right now to qualify for the loan, and I need to give them time to build it, and I might take them. Or you might say, Ron, there's nothing you can do or I can do now or ever to get these people a loan. They are the prince of darkness. Don't go near them. you know what? If he says that, I'm probably going to take him at his word. But I am going to ask him, well, why? Tell me why. And he'll tell me why. He'll tell me they haven't paid anything in their entire life. In fact, they've only got 3 judgments, 2 foreclosures, and 1 bankruptcy on their report. And people are still chasing them. I said, well, okay. All right, I get it. But now let's say, all right, we got a prospect here. I think we can work with these folks. Now we get on the telephone with them and we say, all right, it looks like we can work with you. We need to set up a meeting. We need to come face to face because, guys, I haven't seen these people. I haven't met them. I'm certainly not going to meet them at any house to show them a house, and neither are you. They've gone out and looked. They either got in or they didn't, depending on whether you have control of the house or not, and whether you have a lockbox on it. If you have a lockbox, if you have control of the house and or you have permission, should you have a lockbox on it? Say yes. Go down to Home Depot and buy a lockbox, put it on the front door. Combination 0. Just leave it there. Then you don't even have to read the instructions. Leave it at 0. Easy. You tell them, combination 0. Want 0. Go in. Back out. Put the key back in the box. 0. 0. They're all 0. All mine 0. All right. So, now they either come back to your website and say, yes, I'm interested in this house. I took a look at it and I'd like to proceed, or they pick up the telephone and call you. Either way, it's time to call for the meeting. All right. Here is what you tell them you need. When the meeting is over, you need the things on page 36 in your possession. I want an executed deposit and receipt agreement as soon as you find out what that is. I want a list of the things on the next page that I want them to bring to the meeting. I want an executed repair and inspection agreement, maybe. It might be a little early for that. You might have to do that later. And an executed repair list, same thing. Those two are going to go hand in hand. And I want a deposit. So get this, guys. When this meeting is over, if I do not have some of their money in my hand, I do not have a prospect. And in fact, I don't have a buyer yet. Because this house is going to stay on the market until the day they sign the lease purchase agreement at my attorney's office. I'm not taking it off the market. But if I don't have any of their money, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, until I get their money, they don't even exist. And Joe's going to tell you this afternoon how he's getting their money before he even calls a meeting. Before he even gets far down the line. He's going to get their money before he even puts them in the running to buy his house. And then he's going to pick the best of the best from that. And when Joe gets through talking this afternoon, you're going to see that anything he can do, you can do. Because he just ain't all that bright. Is he still at lunch? Good. All right. All right, Joe. Hey, Joe. All right, now, when we have this meeting, this is where we're going to come to terms. We're going to come to terms on the purchase price, the monthly payment, the down payment, and the length of time it's going to take to do the repairs, and hopefully before the meeting, you're going to have a list of the repairs you want the tenant buyer to do. And then you'll have an idea of when you think they ought to be done. And during this meeting, we're going to come to terms based on what they think and what you think is acceptable. And you're going to either have a good feeling or a bad feeling about your buyer. And if you have a bad feeling, what should you always do? Deny, 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 deny. And if you've got a secretary, a personal assistant, or a wife, this is a good place to have that female at the meeting. All right, checklist for the buyer's meeting. And this is easy. You can take this checklist and just keep it in front of you in every other meeting. Now, you got to tell them to bring this stuff because they're not going to know it. So before they come to the meeting, I want you to, first you already got their application, but if you don't, you got to get it. In fact, you shouldn't have the meeting until you have the application and have it pre-screened. Application comes first. Paycheck stubs. You want to know for sure their income is their income. You can't take their word for it. Make them bring paycheck stubs or some proof of income. Copy of photo ID. You can do that at the meeting, of course. In fact, guys, you definitely need to check their driver's license. And please look at the photo and make sure it matches the person in front of you. I promise you, if you don't, it won't be long till you're going to get scammed. Make sure you're dealing with who you think you're dealing with. And then, of course, you tell them, all right, if we come to terms here today, make sure you have your checkbook with you because I'm going to want a deposit. Now, do you already know how much they have to put down? You remember that what to do next form? And have you, and as this may be part of your conversation when you invite them to the meeting, your form says you can put down $3,000. Are you telling me that is the most you can get? Okay, so you already know that. Now, so you're going to tell them, please bring your checkbook. And they're going to say, well, how much of a deposit do I need today? You're going to say, I usually get it all. You usually do, don't you? Whenever you can get it, you usually get it all, don't you? Okay. $1,000 is the absolute minimum. If they're not willing to give you $1,000 as a deposit on that house, you do not have a prospect, and they do not have the money. They're lying to you. You're probably not going to do a purchase and sale agreement today. You're probably going to do a deposit and receipt agreement. And then at the meeting, you're going to discuss the down payment and ways to increase it. Do you have anything to trade? Car, boat, truck, trailer, motorhome, mobile home, diamond, gold, stock, bond, jewelry, earrings, or a horse. We'll take any of those items if you have them. Do you have another piece of real estate that we should discuss? We can also take equity in other property. Do you have a Harley? Because if you have a Harley, you went right to the top of my list. Right, guys? If they got a Harley, they're in. The rest of it doesn't matter, does it? Bring me Harley, you're in. You're qualified. No, just kidding, just kidding. All right, and then you got to discuss their income and how much of a payment they think they really can afford. And then you get past that hurdle. You tell them, all right, we're going to be closing this thing here in the next 2 or 3 days, which means nothing more than I'm going to send the lease agreement over to my attorney, and they're going to prepare it, and you guys are going to go over and sign it and get the keys after we get everything else agreed upon here. And then you've got to discuss the time frame for the repairs and let them convince you that they're going to get the repairs done, and you should feel good about that. And then the list of repairs. And if you don't have the list in front of you now, then you are going to have to go take a trip to the house or send somebody to make the list. By now, you really should have the list done. Not that big a deal. We're going to get to that in a second. You should discuss the late penalty that will be in your lease. Mine is 10% after 5 days late. Yours is what you want it to be. Some places will have a heartburn over 10% after 5 days late. I don't care. I'm going to charge 10% after 5 days late. If it's not reasonable, then somebody's going to have to prove it's not reasonable. In the meantime, I'm going to charge it, because as far as I'm concerned, it's more than reasonable. And I've never had any trouble getting it in almost 30 years. Whether I make a private loan with my money, somebody else's money, lease option, or seller finance, it's 10% after 5 days late. And I've never had any tenant actually complain about it. That is until they pay it, but up front they don't complain about it. And if whoever did complain, I'm ready. If a tenant says, man, that's a high late penalty, I would say, well, do you intend to be late? Well, no. Well, then it's not an issue, is it? Don't be late. And I tell them point blank, you need to understand now, if your rent is in here on the 6th, it has to be with the late penalty. At 5 o'clock on the 5th is your deadline to get the rent in this office to avoid the late penalty. And this is about when I have my meeting of the minds about emotion and feelings and all those other things that they perhaps think I have. The conversation will go something like, now listen, I own the house and you're going to buy the house. I look at you as a buyer, you look at me as a seller. I'm really not your friend. I'm not looking for friends. If you want a friend, get a dog. I'm not your friend. Okay? Right now I'm your landlord. If your rent's here on time, we're going to be happy. If you're not on time, then we're not going to be happy. And if you're late, I'm just going to send it to my attorney, and I'm not mad at you. Please understand, it's just business when we have a system. And the system's going to be implemented automatically. If you're late, you're going to have to pay a late penalty. Then if you don't pay it, you're going to get an eviction notice, and it's nothing personal. It will happen. So I'm hoping we're never going to have to experience this, but I just want you to know up front that there is really no reason for your money to be late, and there are no excuses that I will accept. And don't even try to get a hold of me and talk to me about it, because A, you can't, and B, I don't hear you when you do. I don't really care if you're sick or if you're out of work for a few period of time, or if you're whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I won't even listen to it. It doesn't matter why you're late. It matters only that you're late. And by the way, if the post office lost your check, that's between you and the post office, not me. If your rent is in here anytime after the 5th, add 10% of that payment with it, and please don't send it without it, because if you do, I'll send it right back. I think it's better that we understand each other on the front end. Wouldn't you agree? All right, well, that's what I'm telling them. And yes, I am that brutal. But, very, very nice. Brutal. Okay, look, if we don't have an understanding on the front end, what's going to happen on the back end? It's going to be a mess. If we have this understanding on the front end, and then we have a problem on the back end, do you remember that discussion we had the first day we met? Do you remember when I said, I don't really give a rat's ass why your money's not here on time? I just care I just care that it isn't? Oh, yeah. By the way, if you have this meeting on the front end like this, you will not have these discussions on the back end, because they'd be afraid to carry them on. So we've set the precedent, haven't we? This is why it bothers me when women manage properties until they've done it a while. Because, see, they have a heart. And women with heart scare me because they rule with their heart, not their head. For a while, that is. Until after they've heard all the stories and listened to all the crap and fielded all the broken promises, and then all of a sudden their heart goes away and they start ruling with their head. Right, ladies? Yes. And then they get meaner than the men. Yeah, I know. Been married to one for 45 years, All right. If seller financing, it's all going to be done with your attorney. So make sure that when you leave, if there's any additional collateral you can get, you might want to have that discussion. And if there's an underlying loan, they have to be told that now. If you're going to wrap an underlying loan, they have to be told of that, because that will be in the documents. This hasn't scared a single buyer off I've ever sold to. And they also need to know that they must get insurance if they're buying it. Now, if they're lease optioning it, do they need to get insurance? No. I'm insuring it. You're insuring it. The owner insures it, not the tenant. If I'm selling with owner financing, they are the owner. And we're going to talk about interest rates and any of the other terms if I'm owner financing it. All right, how to increase your monthly cash flow on lease options. Now, if you've got my green course or if you've been to my 3-day training, you have been exposed to this already. However, it's worth repeating again because I don't see enough people doing it. How many of you like free cash flow? Yes. Okay. How many of you like money you never have to give back?
Yes.
And who thinks it's better to get more money than less money every month? All right. I've got a tenant in the house. I've given them control of my house. They're doing the work. We've agreed to do it with their own money and their own labor. Now, I'm having this meeting because it's taking place at the meeting. And I know what their income is. At least what they say it is. Could their income be higher than what they report? Because of things they don't report. And a lot of people have income that they don't report. And some of it's actually legal. So I'm sitting down and having this meeting, and I'm pre-screening my tenant buyer. What's your name?
James.
James? You want to be my tenant buyer today? All right, you're in my office. We're having this meeting. You going to be married?
No.
No? Well, there's time. Okay. Well, today you're married. What's your wife's name?
Julie.
Julie. Good for me. All right. So I'm having this conversation with you and Julie. And we've decided that while you're in the house fixing it up, you're going to pay $600 a month rent. All right? So I'm now having this conversation. Look, James, before we get this paperwork completed, I have a couple options. I have a down payment assistance program where I can help you build money for your down payment. In other words, you pay in more over and above your rent every month, and we put that in a pot and we apply it towards your down payment. So when it comes time for you to qualify, after we get your credit cleaned up and after you get the property fixed, and we're going to build that pot up, so make it easy for you to qualify. So you're actually building equity every single month by contributing to your own down payment assistance fund. Sound good? Sound good?
Contribute every month?
Well, let me get through telling you what it is, then you can ask questions about it, all right? Okay. Turn your hat around. You look like a doofus. All right. You look like one of those rappers. All right. What are you laughing at, Stephanie? You can do this. I know. All right. So here's the deal, Jim. Your rent's $600 a month, but if I can get you to pay in extra per month, put it toward the down payment, I'll give you a little incentive to do it. So if you pay in $600, how much more above that can you pay if I were to take every dollar you paid in above the $600 and give you credit not only for the dollar toward your down payment, but 50% more credit off your purchase price, which is already reduced. You understand what I'm saying? You pay me in $1 and I'll give you back $1.50 for every dollar you give me. I'll give you back $1 credit toward your down payment and 50-cent credit off the purchase price. Got it?
Got it.
All right. So based on that, how much more could you pay in every month over and above your rent? You understand your rent is low already. Yes?
I'll probably put in another 300.
300? All right. So you pay in 600 for rent and 300 towards your down payment assistance program, and then I have to contribute $150 a month off the purchase price for every $300 check you give me. Okay? What you want to do? All right, I write that down. $300 extra down payment assistance. All right, good enough. Okay, then that's the way I'll have it written up. Oh, but one more thing. I know this might be a stretch, but I need to make sure that you understand all your options before I send this over to the attorney to get paperwork done. If I could get you to increase that to $500, which will make your total outgo $1,100 a month, I'll take your $500 and see you $5, which means you give me $500 a month extra, and I'm going to give you an additional $500 off the purchase price for every month you give me $1,100. So you're getting $1,000 back for $500. What do you think?
I have to talk to Julie first.
Have to talk to Julie? You want to do that while I wait? Huh? Want to go ahead and do that while I wait? Yeah, I'll wait. But that is the right thing to do, isn't it? Okay, so he talks to Julie, and Julie says, boy, this is going to be tough. She said, yeah, but honey, look at the deal. Okay, by the way, am I okay with whatever they come up with?
Sure.
You bet. It's all free money, isn't it? Isn't it? Well, I'm $500 a month off the purchase price. Come on. Yeah, but for how long? I'm not going to give them forever to get the house done and get it cashed out, am I? And so I'm probably going to put them on it no more than a 1-year fuse, and maybe even 6 months, depending on how bad their credit is, frankly. Because it ain't going to take him anywhere near this time to fix the house. The time is going to be in cleaning up the credit. So if it's a year even, what do you care? Give him $6,000 off the purchase price if he cashes you out in a year, you misers. What do you care? It's free equity you got anyway. But what you get in exchange for it? You got $500 a month during that year over and above the $600 a month that you never have to give back. What difference does it make? If he can pay that, he deserves a good break. So you got it?
Got it.
All right. Keep in mind, hot tips down the bottom. If you don't get that extra $500, you can't put him out of the house because of that. That's not rent. You can't evict because you don't get that. That goes toward the down payment. Number 2, let the customer tell you what they can pay and quit opening your mouth and tell them what you want them to pay. Let them tell you. In fact, I'm going to let him name the rent. I'm not even really going to tell him that because he might want to pay more than I'm willing to accept. Make sure all the payments are non-refundable, which is not a problem because that's already in your agreements. And you can incentivize as you see fit. You can do all kinds of cool things, and that's the fun of this thing. You can create whatever deal you and James like and have fun with it. Look at the next page. Down Payment Assistance Program, Exhibit D. Yes, this is the addendum that's going to be added to your option agreement, which is in the back of the book. And yes, I wrote it. Look at number 3. After the down payment has been paid in, there will be a new purchase and sales contract written to reflect all the monies received. In fact, that's going to be the case anytime you put a work for equity tenant buyer in the house, especially if they're using their money to buy materials. And here's why. If he goes and spends $2,000 on materials, he can legitimately call that down payment money. So let's be clear here. That is if he's got the receipts. So we're going to tell him, if you're going to spend the money on materials, save all your receipts because that goes toward your down payment. So if he spends $2,000, now he gets ready to apply for the loan. It's easy. You just write a new contract and raise the price $2,000 so he can have credit for the down payment money. Everybody get that? Hello? Yes. Okay, you're still below market value. It's not costing you anything, but give him credit for that down payment money. Again, to prove he spent that money, or he will have to prove it. So the receipts better be there, or you can't use it. All the money received for rent or down payment is non-refundable. It'll say it again in the agreement itself. Look at number 5, though. The option to purchase may void if the tenant buyer elects not to abide by the terms of this down payment assistance program. It says it may void. Didn't say it would void. Are you going to void any option to purchase because he can't pay that extra $500? No, you are not. You're not going to void his option. You're not going to move him out of the house. But you don't know that really. However, in the interest of fairness, the tenant buyer may elect not to pay toward his or her down payment for any 2 months during the term of this lease agreement without voiding the option portion of the agreement. Isn't that nice of you? But you need to point out to James, you know, I want to take pressure off of you. Just remember, every time you don't give me that $500, you don't get that $1,000 back. So it's a pretty hefty penalty if he doesn't pay that $500. So that's it. That's your lease option down payment assistance deal. Now, setting the time to complete the repairs on page 40. This one's real easy because I don't set it. Who sets it? James? How long do you think it's going to take you to get this list of repairs done? He's going to give me an answer. What's the answer, Jeff? 6 months? Jim, I could build 4 of these houses in 6 months. What's your second choice? 3 months? All right. Now, listen, guys. I want to pin him down to the time he needs to get the repairs done, but honestly, it really doesn't matter much if I know it's going to take him 6 or 9 months to get his credit cleaned up. But I do want the repairs done well ahead of that, right? However, what if he's real close and I know it's not going to take him long to get his credit cleaned up? Then I'm going to try to shorten him on as short a fuse as possible. What you don't want to happen, if you want to cash out, is to have the repairs done, and instead of the big old long gap between that and when his credit is cleaned up, because you probably have to go back and do some repairs again before you can get him financed. So I'd like to time them as close as possible. However, as Marion's going to tell you here in a little bit, it'll take you anywhere from 1 month to 18 months to clean up his credit, depending on the situation. Of course, you don't have to take the 18-monthers. And in fact, while I'm thinking about it, you might want to have a conversation with Marion's staff before you accept him as a tenant buyer, even after the mortgage broker has done his thing on analyzing them. Because he'll tell you about how long he guesses it's going to take to clean it up based on his vast experience. So, let's say it looks like we're about a 9-month ordeal here. I would like to have him, if he says it's going to take 6 months, I don't have a problem with that. What do I care? That is if he's using his money. Now, if he's using my money, I'm going to be in a bigger hurry to get the repairs done. Don't you think? You bet. I'm not going to let it drag on. So if he's using his money, he says 6 months, I'll say, okay. Knowing that he can do anything in 6 months, that's the term I'm going to give him. But many times they'll come back and do just the opposite. They'll bite off more than they can chew. Say, I can get all that work done easily in a month. All right, well, no problem. I'm going to give you 3. I'm going to give you 3. So if they come back with a short fuse, I'm going to give them longer. If they come back with a long fuse, I'm going to try to shorten it if I need to. So I'm going to let him tell me how long it's going to take. I'm just going to write that down on my yellow pad here. 6 months to get the repairs done. And that's going to become part of our agreement. And if he does not complete this list of repairs in 6 months, he is in violation of his agreement. And then you can take action if you choose to. We're going to come to that as well. All right, the next page, the repair list. Let me look here. All right. Before you sign it, you must come to terms on this. Now, here's the thing. There's the repairs that you would normally do if you're renovating it. Then there's the repairs that he sees that he wants to do. And then there's the repairs that a lender will insist on being done. Capiche? The lender will insist on everything on page 41 being done. You will not get a loan closed without those items being done if they need done. For example, any rotten wood anywhere on, under, around, or near the house has got to be replaced. I mean, even if the shed in the backyard has got rotten wood on it, it has either got to be removed or repaired. So rotten wood is always on your list of repairs that have to be done on the house, and you almost always have rotten wood. So that's not a negotiable item. And that includes inside the house, such as kitchen. If kitchen cabinets are rotten, they got to be replaced. If your sills are rotten, they got to be replaced. So you got to look for rotten wood. And if I were you, this is a note that I did not put in here. If I were you, before you close on the house, you should have a WDO, wood destroying organism report done. And then that guy will come out and he'll crawl under the house, and if you got rotten wood under it, you'll know about it right then, instead of waiting until you get up to closing to find it out. You'll also know if you got any major termite damage or any other wood destroying organisms. Down here, we have to worry about that. You Canadians, they probably can't live up there. I'm not sure, but you'll know if you need a wood destroying organism report before you close by simply asking the loan broker. Broken glass. Broken glass has to be replaced. Peeling paint has to be replaced, whether it's in or out. And again, make sure you note what year the house was built, because if it's pre-1978, you better have it checked for lead-based paint now. Because if there's any lead-based paint that needs to be disturbed, you have new rules coming up here in the States. Broken or non-working electrical fixtures or plugs. You wouldn't want to put anybody in a house unless those things are fixed. In fact, if I got a broken electrical circuit, I'm going to put it on my list of repairs, and I'm going to make sure that James gets that fixed before they move into the house, especially if he's got kids. Anything that's dangerous to children needs to be done before he moves in. Functional heat and air. If it's there, it has to work. If it's not there, he doesn't have to install it. His choice. All plumbing must work and no leaking pipes or fixtures. Roof less than 3-year life or 5-year life, depending on what they say where you live. Can you look at a roof and pretty much tell for sure if it needs to be replaced or not? Do you have to be some roofing genius to know this? Or common sense kind of tell you? If your shingles are peeling up and your shingles are missing and they're all cracked up and they look like crap, it's time to replace the roof. And you know it's got to be done. So this is another issue we'll talk about later. Either you got to do it or he's got to do it, but it's got to be done before he can qualify. So you can make that decision based on, A, you could get that done just before he qualifies, couldn't you? Yes? Okay, so suppose it needs a roof, but it's not leaking. Well, there's really no rush. Let him get qualified first. Let him get close. You can always replace the roof and have a roof put on the house in a couple of days. Spend the money when you have to spend the money, I guess is what I'm saying. If you've already got a tenant buyer. Now, are there going to be cases when the roof looks so bad you need to fix it before you can get anybody interested in the house? So this is your judgment call. Now, where are we going to get the money to put a roof on the house? We got it out of the private loan if we didn't take over a debt subject to. So if we did take over a debt subject to and it needs a roof, we better start asking ourselves, am I going to be able to get somebody in this house that is capable and willing to do this massive amount of repairs? And, worst case, you don't. What happens if you contract to buy a house and you can't get anybody to go in it? You die. Or you just say, I'm not going to buy it, one of the two. All right. Any other common sense items that should be replaced that is kind of obvious? And we do have common sense, right? I find that common sense is not all that common, if you want to know the truth. And it wouldn't hurt probably, if there is such a list, to get your mortgage lender or mortgage broker to produce a list that is currently required where you live that lenders are going to want to see done to houses that he's had trouble or she's had trouble with in the past. Now, at the bottom of the list, you're repairing a list, right? Always at the bottom of the list. And any other items required by a lender to close the loan. Well, that wasn't part of our deal. We didn't offer replacing that. Yes, we did. Look at that last item down there at the bottom of the sheet. So that's where that's covered. Get it replaced so we can get your loan done. All right. Do all repair lists have to have a time completion date on them? If you don't put a time, when will they get done? In your lifetime, most likely. You have to put a sense of urgency built into this agreement. It has to be a deadline, and it has to be painful if they don't meet the deadline. If they don't meet the deadline, you literally can force them out of the house if you chose to. You're not, but you can, and they need to know you can. If they don't meet the deadline, you might build in some penalties built into your agreement. If you don't meet the deadline, it's going to cost you $50 a day for every day you're late. Whatever you think, based on your experience, that it's going to take to motivate them to get the job done. Now, you'll see in my agreement with them that there's a $100 inspection fee for every inspection. Every inspection. And I can tell you from experience that it deters wasted trips. So we're going to come back to that. Now look at my repair list here on page 43. I wrote this just for this, and it's a beauty. It lets you go out to the house, write down the repairs for each part of the house, turn it over on the back page, and make a list of only those major items that you know have to be repaired to satisfy the lender. And guys, that's all you really care about. Unless the carpet is really bad, you don't need to force them to replace the carpet. If they want to clean it, they want to live on it, let them do it. What do you care? Now, some of these repairs will knock down the back end value a little bit, but I can tell you right now, anything that they don't do to that house is not going to change the value of that house much. Now, if that house needs a roof, that's going to change the value of it. But that's going to be on the required list anyway. Everybody with me? Hello? And just so you'll know, whether you put new carpet in the house or don't put new carpet in the house, it ain't going to change your appraisal. And if he does give you any value for it, it's going to be a lot less than the carpet cost you to install. You put carpet in houses to sell them, not to increase the value of them. What about pools? Swimming pools. What about? Can we buy houses with nasty looking pools? Yes? Okay. If we buy houses with nasty looking pools, have we better make sure that somebody has the ability to get the nasty looking pool unnasty? Yes, we better. And should we carefully deal with putting somebody in a house with a nasty looking exposed pool with children? Something you're going to have to weigh. And you very well may force them to get that pool fixed before you allow them to live in the house. If it's dangerous, it really should be done before they move in for their own kids' sake. Look at the bottom, page 44. If you'll notice, I have my list of repairs, but now I have a schedule by which they're to be done. And here's what I do, guys. I take anything that's got to be done first like that, that's dangerous, and I absolutely put that in the first group that's got to be done. And you put a note on you. These items must be done prior to occupancy. And you tell him, James, if you move into the house before these items is done, it is over. You're out. You're violating the agreement, and I will remove you from the property. So I suggest you get out there and get those little pathetic items done immediately. And it will be inspected before you can move in. And now, what other items? For example, if he agrees to put on a roof is always the first thing you do to a house. You put the roof on before you paint the ceilings. Not after. So that's going to be right up here in my top pile. And rotten wood. I want the rotten wood replaced right there in that first category. You know, I don't care when he replaces the kitchen. I don't care even when he paints the walls. But I want the filthy, nasty, egregious stuff done, anything that is dangerous done in category number 1 as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to take, this is why these items are numbered, guys. It says items number 11, 13, 28, 42 are to be completed by blank date. And that blank date is going to be their first deadline. And then they're going to call me and tell me to come and inspect it at the end of that, or near that first deadline. And when I go out there, the items in that first column better be done. By the way, is it going to cost them $100 whether they're done or not done? Yes, it is. Now look at your addendum B on page 45. This is your agreement. You're welcome. I agree to complete the repairs on the attached schedule in a manner acceptable to the owner and any city inspector by the completion date indicated. If I do not complete the repairs properly or on time, the owner may void my option to purchase and no earnest money will be returned to me if this occurs. The owner will designate an inspector to come to the property and verify any or all the repairs have been completed on the attached schedule. When I request an inspection, I understand a trip to the house will cost me $100 per inspection, whether I pass or fail the inspection, and it is in my best interest not to order an inspection until all terms applicable are 100% complete. So when James calls in and says, I'm ready for an inspection, I say, Jim, are you sure items 11, 12, 32, and 44 are 100% totally done? Not 99%, 100% done. Jim, do you remember that it's $100 whether you pass or fail? Yeah. Well, okay, let me call you back tomorrow. Yeah. Just saved you a trip, saved him $100. Or saved somebody in your organization a trip. The fee for inspection will be deducted from any funds being extended to me for materials, if applicable, or collected on site, if not. I prefer the on-site method myself. If I fail the inspection, complete the items requested by the inspector within days or order another inspection at an additional $100 fee and continue to do so until all items are complete and improved. I'm aware the inspector may choose to inspect the house without my request in which case I am not responsible for the $100. If you're out in the neighborhood or somebody on your team is out in the neighborhood, is it okay if they pop in and inspect it? You don't have to charge him $100. This is not a way to gouge him for a $100 fee. This is a way to hold him accountable and to make sure that when he calls you and waste your time to go out there, that the work is done, and he knows that it's in his best interest to make sure that it is. Look at that last paragraph. You can chalk this one up to Ron's experience. I may not place any kind of a mechanic's lien on the property or cloud the title in any way. If I do so, I agree to pay a $10,000 penalty to the owner, plus any and all other remedies allowed by law, and release the lien immediately upon the owner's request. Ugly, isn't it? Yes, it is. But it's beautiful to me.